Everybody anticipated it. Everybody constantly kept speculating, and it finally happened. Roman Reigns, after being gone since WrestleMania, after losing his WWE Universal Championship to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, made his return in a night of two double crosses of the Judgment Day, three title changes, and now in the main events, just like the opener, the champs retained, but Cody Rhodes successfully defended the WWE Universal Championship against Solo Sikoa. Man, I gotta say, guys, I feel like I can't say it's that big of a surprise because it was so much, you pretty much suspected Roman was gonna come back. But man, and the way that he came back, it was just the same way he came back in 2020 when he left just before WrestleMania because he was supposed to face Goldberg that year at WrestleMania. He left before then, and didn't come back until SummerSlam. But it was after the match. It was after the Fiend had retained the Universal title against Braun Strowman. Well, he won the Universal title from Braun Strowman, and he attacked him, and he had that shirt, Wreck 'em and Leave. And so this year, he pretty much did the same thing as far as coming out and wrecking somebody and leaving. Only this time, it was with Solo Sikoa. It was with his family this time because, after all the trash, after all the things Solo said about him being weak, saying about how he couldn't get the job done at WrestleMania and, keep the family line going, declaring himself as a tribal tree, taking out Paul Heyman, all these different things, taking out Jimmy first and taking out Paul Heyman. You knew it was gonna bull. You knew it was gonna bull over, and you know, I think the caveat about this is you knew Cody was gonna retain the title, and they had a little nice thing in the back. Showing R. Anderson, who's no longer with AEW. Rekindling with Cody Rhodes. He was actually somewhat managing Cody in AEW and telling him he's got some friends and just kind of interact with him on Gorilla just before he got into the entrance ramp to get into the ring. It was a little nice reunion between them that we saw backstage. We also saw Cody on his bus, coming off his bus, walking with his dog just before he got to R. Anderson. But when the match got going, man, I mean, for the bulk of it, it was just them two. Solo looked pretty decent, with certain things. They tried to sell the fact that Solo, studied Cody, so certain moves Cody tried to go for in this match, Solo, countered against it. But ultimately, just as you expected, eventually, by the time he hit the first crossroads, that's when Tamalo and Tamataka got involved. And then that's when Kevin and Randy came to take them, eliminate them out the picture. And then just when it really looked like Cody was going to really take Solo out after that, then Jacob Fatu comes out. He takes Cody out. Mind you, Cody had already kicked out of the spinning Solo. Um, then he kicked out of the move that Jacob hits from the top rope. Not sure what that's exactly called. I mean, I know it's some type of moonsault, but I'm not sure what he calls the finisher exactly. But then Cody kicks out of that. So just a lot of things going on in this match. And sorry, but just tired. But man, then Jacob sells the fact that he messed his foot up after he, takes Cody out, splashing him through the announce table, throwing Cody back in, and Cody counters with a Cody cutter on a Solo when he takes him back in the ring, and that's when Roman comes out. Superman Solo hits him with the spear. His music seems a little bit different now. It's like the same music, but it has a little bit of extra, like some stuff added to it now when he came out. So he comes in. He comes out. Takes out Solo. You could tell that that was his objective. It had nothing much really to do with Cody, but more so just to take Solo out. You know, uh, with him out the picture. But I gotta say, man, um, it's gonna be very interesting how this plays out. You know, the next Primo event is Bash in Berlin, but it should be interesting. This whole thing with this new version of the Bloodline and Roman, where this is going to lead to. Could we see a match? I mean, I'm sure they are going to do a match with Roman and Solo, but when will they do that match? Will it be a Bash in Berlin? Would it be, in September? Um, I'm trying to think which show that's going to be because I know Bad Blood is like between September October. Is it going to be one of those shows? It should be interesting to see like just how it all plays out, and then really and where Cody stands in this. Because keep in mind, Cody's the champ, and even with him being champ, this is kind of the only thing I don't like about this whole Bloodline Saga thing is that it's like they still continue to put the vocal point on them despite the fact that Cody being champ. And Cody's had some really good title defenses with between his match with AJ Styles, his matches with Logan Paul, match he had with Logan Paul, and King and Queen of Ring in the main event of that, and then even you know um, the one he had here was pretty good, but those are like really good. But the story, the main focus still continues to be on them. So you wonder, is when Roman, because he's gonna want to have a rematch with Cody at some point. So when do they pull the trigger and do that? Do they wait until Survivor Series? Do they wait until because I'm sure he's gonna want to have a rematch with Cody at some point. So that's one thing to look forward to if they ever decided to go, back to that. Because it would be a rubber match, because Roman won the first time with the help of Solo. Cody won the second time earlier this year, so it would be like a rubber match, between them if they were to go for the titles. But I don't see them doing it this soon at Bash in Berlin in just 2 to 3 weeks. I don't see them doing it that soon, but it should be very interesting of when they decide to do that. In addition to doing Roman Solo, or do they not do that? Do they just go straight to Roman, and Solo? So there's so many directions. Maybe we could even see Roman and Jacob Fatu, but I'm not sure if they would do that considering the way they're booking Jacob Fatu. For him to be losing to Roman so early, unless they were to actually have him beat Roman, and really try to establish this newer version of the bloodline. Would be very interesting. But there's so many directions, they could go. And like I said, I'm just more interested with Cody as well, seeing how this is going to affect him as champion. Where does he go from here with his offenses and things like that. But I do want them to keep, making I do want them to keep making, Cody as credible as they could possibly be. So I do just want to say that, make him as credible as a champ as possible. But yeah, man, I mean, on a night with double crosses, the start of the night, as we all expected, Dominic double cross Rhea, actually helped Liv Morgan beat Rhea Ripley to retain, the women's title, which we suspected would happen. I mean, he came out there with Rhea and looked as though he was all supporting her. And Rhea was doing stuff in front of Liv. And at first, Liv kept playing cat and mouse until Rhea finally caught up with her. And she was selling the fact that she displaced her arm again, her shoulder, and it backfired. I mean, then she tried to snap it back in place twice. But when she hit, Liv, and with the rib tie, instead of going for the cover, because one of the first times she tried to hit it, Liv countered, but she didn't really get to hit it. And instead of going for the cover, she tried to get the chair. And then Dominic pulls it from her, saying, "You can't win it this way." Then he throws the chair back in the ring after Rhea kicked out of the first Oblivion to help, Liv retain it, and kisses her in front of Rhea's face. So you had that going on. And then the double cross of Damien, later in the night. Damien getting screwed by Finn, helping Gunther to win the World Championship. Um, you know, you kind of knew it was going to happen. Both of these have been acting like baby faces, and they don't really need to be in the Judgment Day at this point. But very interested to see where that goes. This, perhaps now maybe Liv is going to lead this new version of the Judgment Day. I don't know. I don't see the group disbanding completely, because it definitely seems like, between this thing with Liv and then what Finn did to Damien later in the night, which was surprising, but at the same time, they've been telling the story between Damien and Finn going all the way back to last year, really, of their dissension, but it finally blew up here, of him just the jealousy and such, him not being too happy about him being world champion and whatnot, and screwing him out of the title. So you had a lot going on here. Even though he previously said before this that, I know you said you don't need any help with it, I got your back if something happens, and he comes out there, look like he's supporting him, and just like Dominic early in the night, he screws his buddy Damien. So both Damien and Rhea gets kicked out of, basically, kicked out of the Judgment Day at this point. And, I'm very interested to see where that goes. And then at the same time, LA Knight wins the United States title from Logan Paul, which was in a pretty good match. I mean, there was a point where Logan hit like a moonsault, like a really nice move from the top of the ring. The fans were like still chanting, "You still suck." But LA Knight hit this crazy superplex. I mean, the landing was insane. How he landed the superplex. But LA Knight was bringing it. Logan attacked him for the match even started, and they just were brawling back and forth. And but at the end, even with the brass knucks, which he didn't connect, to the where he normally would land with it on with LA, so it was just enough for LA to still win the match. So you had that going on, and you had, a new IC champion with Braun Breaker taking out Sammy with 2 spears. So 3 titles change hands, 2 the main titles. The WWE title and the Women's World title did not. Of course, you also had. Actually, no. I'm sorry. It wasn't 3. You had 4 titles change hands. The IC title, the United States title. Bayley dropped her title to Nia Jax after Tiffany Stratton got involved, like she was on cash in, and Bayley took her out. And then eventually, she was trying to hurry up and cover and get Nia out the way, but Nia hit 2 power bombs and then annihilated her for a second time, to win the title, celebrating along with Tiffany Stratton. The first annihilator, Bayley actually kicked out of it. And at one point, Bayley, the crowd popped when Bayley hit this power bomb on Nia Jax. So yeah, you had that change as well. And then you had the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre match, which, really CM Punk was his own demise for getting too crazy and, Seth's face, despite the fact Seth was trying to call it down the middle, saying he took the race on purpose, saying he was, counting on purpose, slow on purpose, and it cost him. But Punk did look good. For once, Drew won the match the same way Punk screwed him at Clash at the Castle with the low blow, and then Claymore and whatnot. But Drew won the match. Punk screwed himself. Hit him with the GTS while after Seth was already knocked down, and it gave Drew enough time to kick out. So it was a lot going on in that match. With them getting in Seth's face. At one point, he was sitting relaxing on the apron as they were fighting outside. But yeah, man, I mean, I mainly want to come here and talk about Roman, but I did want to briefly talk about. I mean, I want to come on and talk about Roman's return, but I did want to also talk about the other things as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. Roman is back. Just like I'm intrigued by the other stories in the show of the night that I just mentioned, because that's all the matches that happened. I'm also intrigued by. I don't know what happened in the pre-show because I didn't look at the pre-show, but I'm also intrigued by this thing with Roman and how this is gonna play out. So yeah, looks to be very interesting. So sorry that's a flex. Like, comment, subscribe, talk to you guys later. Peace.